Hello everyone, this is KenBroTech from KenBroTech. So in the last couple of videos, we've been working with Django and the Folium package. I've been doing some series of videos where I've been exploring different application domains of the Folium package. Now in today's tutorial, we are going to build this web application. So what we have here is a map, and we can actually zoom in and zoom out. But then that's not the main meat of our map. We can actually also open it up to a full screen. When we press the escape key, we see it's resized like this over here. But over here we have this toggle menu over here, and we can switch between different maps or different style of maps. And for the previous videos, we looked at the OpenStreetMap and I think the Kato Dark Matter. So clearly we have the positron, we have the statement terrain, then statement toner, this particular type as well. Then we also have this statement watercolor. So as far as the Folium package is concerned, we have different variety of maps that we can use, and depending on the kind of application you are building, you may need some of these different type of map, and not necessarily all, but I just wanted to display all the variety that we have. Now then, also we have these markers placed over here, and if I'm to go into my admin and go into data, this is the model I built. We have the countries, the longitude, latitude, and some kind of population. This is not real data anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all clear everything over here. So I'm going to delete everything we have in our database. Alright, so we have everything deleted from our database. Now when I refresh, clearly we don't see the markers over here. Now if we should come here and come and add data, over the past few times, all that we've been doing is adding data some kind of manually, one at a time. In this particular application, we are looking at how we can add data from a CSV file. So that CSV file is already there, and we want to import that data into our database. So over here, you can see that we have this import button over here. When we click on import, we may ask that this importer will import the following fields. So we have ID, country, longitude, latitude, and population. So we choose the file, and this is the data we are going to use, the data I prepared. Then I'll click on open. I'll actually include this data in the description below so that we'll have access to exactly what we are doing. Then you also have to come and select a format. So as far as this is concerned, it can either be a CSV, an XLS file, and these are all different file formats. So in our case, we are going to use CSV, and when I click on submit, it gives me a preview of the data that I'm trying to import into the database model. So I'll click on confirm. Once I click on confirm, you can see that our model has been populated with the data. So if I come back here to come and refresh, you are definitely going to see the markers on the map as pertains to the data we imported. So back in VS Code, what I have here is I have a CSV project. This is the name of the project, CSV project. So as you can see, we have settings.py, urls.py, and the other files over here. Now we also have our dashboard app folder over here and the various files that comes with it. And finally, we have a template folder. So I just created a template folder, and we'll see that inside here we have two folders over here. We have a dashboard folder and a partials folder. So if you follow my tutorials, there's some kind of structure that I keep that makes my work more organized. So over here inside dashboard, I have an index.html over here, which is actually an empty file. I don't have anything in here. But then inside the partials folder, I have a base.html, which I do have some HTML in here. This is basically the Bootstrap starter template with the Bootstrap CDN. And I also have nav.html over here. This is also a Bootstrap navbar, and I have included this through template inheritance over here. Alright, so this is basically what we have, and we are going to start off with our application. So the first thing you are going to do is you are going to run this project. So I'll do python manage.py and I'll do run server. So I have this running and I can do a control and click on this link and it opens up over here. Okay, so we are going to put out some views and logic in there. So we'll go into our dashboard app folder and go into views.py, and this is going to be a simple function based view. So I'm going to call the function index and I'm going to pass in a request over here, and this is going to return render because we want to render an HTML template. The first parameter we pass in here is the request, then obviously the next one is the name of the template. Now this template, which is the index template, is going to be found in a folder called dashboard. So that's why I have dashboard / and I'll do index.html, and this is going to be it for now. And immediately after we create our view function, we need to create a corresponding URL for it. So inside this dashboard app folder, I'm going to click on this and I'll do urls.py. So this is going to be the corresponding URL that's going to route that particular view. So I'm going to say from Django.urls, I want to import path. Then after running this import, the next thing I would want to import is I would also want to import the model. So I'll do from the current directory, I want to import views actually. I want to import views. Then I'll do URL patterns. Now this URL patterns is going to be a list of all the paths that I need over here. But for the purpose of this work, I'm only going to specify one path, which is going to be the root path. And I'm going to call the views module I have over here, and through that I can have access to the index function. And I'm going to give it a related URL name, which I'm going to call dashboard dash, and I'll say index over here. So what this line of code is basically doing is want to create a path, okay, and this path is going to invoke the index function we have in our view, and that's exactly what's happening over here. Now this index function is going to return a template, and this template is found in the dashboard templates folder, and that's what we have over here. Good. So we have these two set up. Now let's go into our CSV projects. That's our projects folder. I'm going to do some few things that we need to come and do over here. So first of all, we need to register this app. So inside installed apps, okay, inside settings.py, all that we need to do is to register the app over here. So the app is dashboard.apps.capital dashboard and capital config. And you see me do this a couple of times in other videos. So you have this over here. Now the next thing we need to do is we are going to call or render our templates from this templates folder over here. So we need to come inside templates, once again inside settings.py, and link things up over here. So the way we do that is to put out a base directory as you see over here, and / and the name of the template folder that we have in there. So the name of this folder is what we have as templates. Now after doing this, I think we are almost done. The last thing we need to do is to go into the project URL. So inside project URL over here too, we need to tell Django that yes, we are doing the routing internally. So take note of that. So first of all, I'm going to import include over here. Then right about here, I'll do a path, and this path is also going to be empty. Then I'll call the include function over here. And what do I want to include? I want to include my dashboard.urls. All right, so all that this line of code is actually trying to implement is that we are having the routing done internally. So Django acknowledge that as far as the dashboard URLs are concerned, we want to include that kind of routing in the main project. So when I do this, our dev server is still running. If I come back here to come and refresh, you can clearly see that we have a clean slate. Okay, this is actually the index page we are rendering over here. In the index page, as it stands, let me show you. The index page as it stands is empty. So remember, we have our base.html, and base.html has this starter template, and we've also included the nav.html over here, so you can also extend or kind of do a template inheritance over here. So I'm going to put out the template tag, and I'll say extends, and this extends from partials /base.html. So I'll save this, and if I'm to come back here and come and refresh, we see that we have this nav bar over here. Good. So the next thing I would want to do is to put out some kind of a block content over here. So also some kind of template tag. So I have block content over here, and I'll end that tag over here. So I'll do end block over here. Good. Now I can simply copy this, Ctrl+C, and put this over here for now. And if I am to do, let's say, an H1 tag and type in KenBroTech and save this, we are definitely going to see this display over here. Good. So now this is what we want. We can also change the title over here, and let me quickly do that. As far as the title goes, let's change this, and let's also put out a template tag over here. So we are going to say block. We're going to say block title, and I'm going to end block over here. All right, so I'll copy this, Ctrl+C, I'll save this, and just above block content, I need to bring block title, and let me just put out home page over here inside the content. So if I'm to refresh, we have this home page displayed over here. Now, the next most important thing we need to worry ourselves about is our models, and that's essentially why we are here. So we'll go into our projects, and we have models.py over here. So we are going to create our model over here. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to call a class, and we are going to call this data, and we are going to inherit from models.model, this models over here, which is already imported for us. We are inheriting from it, and we are inheriting from a subclass called model. And inside this, we can now specify the attributes of our model, the columns actually. So the first we are going to say is country. Country is going to be, and we are going to say models dot, and I'll choose character field, and I'll specify a max length of 100. Then the next one I'm going to deal with is the longitude. No, let me do latitude. So latitude, and latitude is going to be equal to models dot, and I'll say float field, and let me give it a default of 0. This is not mandatory anyway. Then longitude is also going to be models dot float field, and let me also give it a default of 0. Then finally, I think I'll have population is equal to models dot, and I'll say positive integer field, and this is going to be how our model is going to look like. We are going to have country, latitude, longitude, and population. Now, I would also want to have a string representation of this model, so I'll do a def, and this is going to be a method. I'll do a def underscore underscore str underscore underscore, then I'll put up self as a parameter, then I'll return self.country so that I see the name over there. All right, then I think the next thing I need to do is to come into admin.py and come and register things over here. So I'll say from the current models, I want to import, and I want to import data. So what I can do is I can do admin.site.register, and what do I want to register? I want to register data over here. Now, in order for us to see exactly what's happening, we need to migrate our models and create in a super user so that we see everything that we have done so far. So I'll create a new terminal and I'll do python manage.py, and I'll do make migrations. That's the first thing I need to do, make migrations. Okay, then once that is done, I'll do python manage.py, then I'll do migrate so that we can migrate all our models into our SQLi 3 database. Now that we have this complete, we need to create a super user so that you can have access to the admin panel. So I'll do python manage.py, and I'll say create super user. So it is asking me for a name or a username. I'll say admin. The email address is going to be admin@gmail.com, and the password I'm going to say 1234. It is asking me again 1234, and of course it is too short and things of that sort, but then I'm going to accept. Okay, so we have this over here. Now I'm still going to go into the application, and this time around we'll do /admin, and I'll type in my password, my username and my password over here. So I'm now logged in. Now when I click on data, I can now add data over here. So I can add in the country, the longitude, the latitude, and the population. Now clearly this is what we are quite used to, but with the demo that I showed, we had some buttons over here which we can click and add or import the CSV file, and that's exactly what we are going to look at. So this is actually going to lead us to another Python package, okay, which we are going to use to deploy. We are going to use to accomplish exactly what we needed to do. So I'll leave the link in the description below, and this is actually a package. So it is the Django import export package, okay. So this is the configuration, and the first thing we need to do is to run a pip install. We need to install this. Now I already have this installed, but then you need to go through the process. So I'll create a new terminal over here, and all that you need to do is to run pip install, and the name of the package is Django-import-export. All right, so when I click on enter, it says requirements already satisfied as far as my system is concerned. But if this is going to be your first time, you need to run it. It's going to take I think about a minute or so, and you are good to go. Now that we know we have this installed, the next thing we need to do, which is also in the documentation over here, is we need to add this to include apps so that Django is aware that we indeed have some kind of package, a third-party application we are going to work with. So I'm going to copy this, and inside our CSV projects folder, we go into settings.py, then we'll come back into installed apps and come and paste this over here. So what do we have here? We simply have the import_export, okay. So we've actually informed Django that yes, we have some kind of external or third-party application we are going to work with, and that's just about it as far as the settings are concerned. So the next thing we need to do is to come over here into our admin where we registered our app and bring in the import-export package that we are going to use over here. So inside it, I'm going to run some imports. So I'm going to say I'm going to call the import underscore export dot admin like this. Okay, I want to import, then I want to import export, and what I need is the model admin. Okay, so I want to import the import export model admin. Now let me throw this word of caution. If you are installing this for the first time, I'll highly recommend that after the installation is done, you restart your system. So like you close VS Code, okay, not your whole computer, but then you close VS Code and run it again, okay, or start your Django application again, so that it's duly recognize everything you are trying to do over here. So now that we have this over here, we can now work with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a class over here, and I'm going to call this data import export admin. Okay, this is the name I'm going to have for this data import export admin, and this is actually going to inherit from the import export admin. So I'll do a Control-C and put this right over here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a list display. You've seen this a couple of times, and I think I touched on this in my Django series. I'll leave the link in the description below on the database admin model, trying to customize the admin panel and the things we can do, and this is essentially part of it. So the list display, we are going to return a tuple, and all that we want to see is we want to see country, and this is basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to list out the items we have in our model over here. Okay, then the next one I want the latitude, then I also want the longitude, then finally I need population, and I need to put this in a string. All right, so after doing this, then I need to copy this, okay, the name of the class, and kind of put it over here so that everything works perfectly. Now before we proceed, let me show you something. Now this is the data we are going to work with. Okay, it's a CSV file, and the name of the file is data. So I'll double click on this and show you exactly what we have inside the data. All right, so this is the data, and as far as our rules are concerned, on rule 1, you see we have the header over here. We have ID. Now remember, ID is empty over here. Django, as far as the package is concerned, you need to leave the first column as ID and leave it empty, so that an ID will be generated for it automatically and it will be filled over here. Then obviously, remember, we have country, longitude, latitude, and population. This is exactly what we need to have. You don't have to change the names. So depending on the kind of CSV file that you want, if you are creating the model, you have to conform to the names you have in that particular CSV file. So this is what we have, and let me just close it and save. All right, so let's go back into our projects, and this is what we have. So we'll go back here, and bear in mind, as it stands, we have only this, which we can be adding data over here. Now when I refresh, you are going to see some changes over here. So when I refresh, now you can see that you have the import and export over here, and this as a result of what we are trying to do over here. Remember, we are including the import export model admin package over here, and we are specifying the things we want to see over here. So back into our application, if I'm to click on imports, we have some kind of information displaying over here. It says this importer will import the following fields: ID, country, latitude, longitude, and population. And that's exactly what we are actually structuring our work. Okay, we want to import ID, longitude, latitude, and population. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on choose, and this is going to be in a folder called data, and I'll select this, and I'll select the format as CSV. And when I click on submit, now we have a preview over here, and it says we have the ID columns, we have the country, we have the longitude or the latitude, the longitude, and the population. So when I click on confirm, we definitely have this inside our model as we see over here. Now when we come back here and come and refresh, we're obviously not going to see anything because we haven't written any code to that effect, but then we can actually do so. So we can actually bring our model in here. So I'm going to say from the current models, I want to import data. Then I can write a simple database query. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a query set QoS is equal to, and I'll say data.objects.all, and I'll just have a context dictionary over here, and I'm going to call QoS as a key, and the value is going to be QS over here. Then all that I need to do is to pass in the context variable in here. So we can actually come into index.html, and inside index.html can actually render some of the things we want to see. But then let me put this in a container class, and let's just have an h1. So for the h1, let's do a loop over here. So I'm going to say I'll bring a template tag, and I'll say for data in QoS. Okay, from data in QoS, then what I need to do now is I need to end for, and obviously what I can do is I can put out the, let's say, an h3 tag over here and the data. So I'm going to say data.country, so that I can have access to all the countries listed in our application. So when I do this and refresh, now you have all the countries listed over here. So you can see that our model is definitely talking to our interface, and this is exactly what we desire. Now obviously if we come into our application and let's say change, or let's say delete an entry. Okay, so for instance you are deleting Mexico, and when I say enter, yes indeed we've deleted Mexico, and if we should come back here, here's Mexico. If you have to refresh, you can see that Mexico is now gone. Okay, so yes, we've imported everything, but then we can manipulate and handle data as and when, or the way we want it. But the main important thing is the way and manner we present the data should correspond to the way we structured our model. Okay, so we have country, latitude, longitude, and population. It has to follow in that order. And bear in mind, in our CSV file, we need to leave the first column blank and give it an ID for the name of the column. So this is going to be the first part of this video. The subsequent one is what we are going to focus our attention on, and that's actually to put out the map and see how we work our way around it. Now if you are new on this channel, I highly recommend you subscribe to my channel so that anytime I release a video, you'll be duly notified, and give a thumbs up and ask any question you may want to get response to. At KenBroTech, we say learn programming. You can do it. Bye bye.